Good evening, everybody. Thank you all for coming, and hello to those of you that are joining us from YouTube. We're very excited today to be sharing with you information about emerald and beryls. This is a presentation that Tanja has been working on and sort of improving each time we run it. So this is a really interesting session that we're pleased to share with you. This session is going to be run by Tanja. Tanja is the founder of JDMIS, and she has over 40 years of experience working in the jewelry industry, in every facet of the industry, in retail, in wholesale, in design, in manufacturing. So she brings with her a great deal of experience in terms of how to look at, understand, and appreciate all of these different gemstones. And this particular session is one of our gem jamming sessions, something we're doing in conjunction with the National Design Center to be able to help people get a better appreciation of jewelry design and gemstones in general. We have all kinds of different sessions, things with spotlights on particular gemstones, as well as topics that cover how jewelry is designed and how it's manufactured, as well as some interesting topics of the day, things like how you might clean your jewelry or should you buy a synthetic diamond, things like that. So we're very excited to share those with you. And before we move on to the presentation itself, we wanted to take just 2 minutes to share with you a little bit more about who we are here at JDMIS. The fastest way for me to do that is to play a short video which will show you a little bit about what we do here at the school.
Since 2007, the Jewellery Design and Management International School has given thousands of people the confidence to create quality jewelry. Established in Singapore, in the heart of Southeast Asia, JDMIS has conducted courses for some of the world's most distinguished jewelry companies, as well as passionate amateurs and those ready for a career in the jewelry industry. Specializing in the jewelry arts, JDMIS provides exceptional education in jewelry design, fabrication, gemology, and business. The tools that students receive from JDMIS on their first day have traveled with many along the road of jewelry making success. Tanja Sadow, founder of the JDMIS, is an award-winning jewelry designer and renowned jewelry educator with over 30 years of experience training the jewelry industry. Tanja, with her team of expert jewelry artists and instructors, created the JDMIS curriculum to be comprehensive yet flexible. Small class sizes, personalized attention, and an unmatched support network ensure that each participant leaves with the knowledge, skill, and confidence to succeed in the jewelry industry. Designed for the jewelry trade, training at JDMIS is fast-paced and packed with useful practical information. But with a diverse range of participants, courses are also great fun. Learning at their own pace, participants study the latest information about gemstones and jewelry styles. They gain confidence using the best of traditional and contemporary techniques and learn how to apply each of these skills to their businesses. All JDMIS courses are completely modular and they can be taken individually. For each skill they learn, students receive a certificate and can combine these skills to receive a comprehensive diploma qualification. Graduates in more than 42 countries delight friends and relatives with their unique creations. Many graduates showcase their pieces online, and JDMIS's brightest stars operate their own successful retail jewelry businesses, designing and producing exquisite jewelry that enchants their customers. The possibilities are endless. What will you create?
Okay, good evening everybody. Hello everyone on YouTube. Thank you very much for coming tonight. And how many people love emeralds? Hands up, yes, okay, good. You have very good taste. Yes, a very expensive taste, might I add, because emeralds are some of the more expensive gems to buy in the world today. And if we look at all of the factors being equal, if we had large size, let's say a 5 carat, let's say really good color, really good clarity, really good cut, then ultimately emerald would be the most expensive out of, say, emeralds, rubies, sapphires, diamonds, even tanzanite, which is a little bit more rare. It would be right at the top with the highest price. So what we're going to look at today is, number one, the beauty of emeralds, how they are so beautiful, and even though they typically come included, but we still see some kind of beauty in that. We're going to talk a little bit about the history and the origins, and we are going to look at mining, which is very important, where they're coming from, the different sources, because different emeralds are coming from different places. And we also want to kind of highlight a little bit the pricing for you. Now that's a tough one because ultimately we can find anything from $1 to thousands of dollars on internet today. But I will try to highlight similar items and what their typical prices are going to be. And then just briefly touching on durability, which is important, and treatments of the emeralds. So after that, when we've talked about emerald, we also want to talk about all the ones in its family. So when we talk about family, emerald is a variety of the species beryl. And so within the beryl family, meaning that all of these minerals that you see here, they have the same chemical composition and the same crystal structure. They're like brothers and sisters. They're like people in a family having the same DNA. These all have the same chemical composition and crystal structure, but they look different. And so how are they looking? We will see them on the slides, and we will talk a little bit about each one individually. All right, so beauty. So what is beauty? Beauty is typically, when we look at a gemstone, beauty can be in 3 different ways. It's the color. The color is probably one of the most important factors of beauty. Then we have usually interesting internal and external characteristics, and that's basically what the gemstone has going on within it. And then we also have another aspect of beauty would be if it has a very interesting reaction to light. We call it a phenomenal gem. Now, as it happens, emerald is not a phenomenal gem. At best, we might get a cat's eye emerald, which has been known, but there's not too many other emeralds coming with any other type of phenomena. So really, what do we focus on with an emerald is the beauty of its color. And it's an intense green, and typically it can be further towards the bluish green, or sometimes it can even be towards the yellowish green. Now, people often ask me, does that make a difference? Actually, whether you prefer the bluish or whether you prefer the yellowish is really personal preference. So first, it needs to be green, right? Emerald is never any other color. And I would say probably most people go for the bluish green, but we want the intensity of color, that very strong saturation, which makes it quite an amazing color and something that's very soothing to the eyes and something that's very pleasant to look at usually. Now, another thing was the interesting internal and external characteristics. Externally, emerald looks fantastic, and I'm just going to back up a moment because, whoops, I didn't back up. I'm going to back up here so that you can actually see the natural. This is a natural crystal as it grows. Look at those very flat faces, beautiful flat faces. And if you look down on the top of that crystal, it has a hexagonal crystal system, because that's how it grows. It grows within the hexagonal crystal system, and therefore you see that beautiful shape. Now, I don't want you to think that all emeralds are coming out of the ground looking like this, because many of them are shattered in the process of extracting them from the ground, so they're not all visibly in this. But when you do get one that is in such a perfect shape, it's absolutely awesome. So as far as external, it can be beautiful. Internally, we accept that an emerald is going to have inclusions. And the inclusions we accept are going to be visible to the naked eye. We don't expect to have a lot of emeralds with really nothing in them. If it had nothing in them, it would be exceedingly expensive. Or today, well, it might be an emerald from Zambia, which tends to be a little bit cleaner. But we expect to see something in an emerald. If we didn't see something in an emerald, then we would be very curious as to why it doesn't have anything in it. And we would be quite suspicious. And we would think maybe this is a synthetic emerald, quite frankly. Anyway, definitely the beauty of emerald has been enjoyed for over 6,000 years. I mean, people just really goes back in history a long way, which we will talk about in a few minutes. And it's definitely one of the most highly prized gems, more so than even ruby, which those of you who were here for the ruby talk, you know how expensive ruby was. Well, this is actually more valuable than ruby. So we said all factors being equal, it's 2 to 3 times as valuable as diamond at least, and more valuable than most. So, history. They did some carbon dating on minerals some time back, and they found that some of the oldest emeralds were coming from Zimbabwe, and 2.97 billion years. I mean, wow. That is, it takes that long for an emerald to grow. People don't realize how long it takes for minerals to form in the earth, and then how long is it before we can find them in the earth. It's amazing how long. Pakistan, we found some that were 9 million, only 9 million years old, which is already quite old. But the first mined emeralds were from the Upper Egypt area, and that was around 1,500 BCE. Hi. This was also a favorite gem of Cleopatra, and of course Cleopatra, and sorry, you can go, if you go around, there's some seats over there. Cleopatra, who lived in Egypt, loved emeralds. She loved pearls as well. But any emeralds that were found in those areas, she claimed them for herself. They were her mines, and so she absolutely loved emeralds. So the word emerald actually comes from ancient Greek, smaragdus, which simply means green gem. Now you have to realize, back in those days, in days of Cleopatra, or even in the Middle Ages, and even after the Middle Ages, all the way up to the 1800s, we had no idea what the gemstones were. And why did we have no idea? Because we didn't have the methods of testing that we have today. We had no way of knowing chemical composition and crystal structure. We didn't even know much about chemical composition and crystal structure. So anything green was called this word, meaning green gem. All right, so a lot of green stones that could have been tourmalines, that could have been even jade, and that could have been garnets, would well have been called the same name. So the Spanish went to Colombia, and they were the ones that discovered the Colombian emeralds, and then they brought them back to Europe, and they made them super, super popular. And this is why we've got such a popularity for Colombian emeralds, because already in Europe they were extremely popular back in 16th century, 17th century. A lot of people wanted the Colombian emeralds, and that provenance of having a Colombian emerald goes back to those times. And of course, most of what was found in those days was immediately given to royalty. And it's found in crown jewels today. And some of the biggest and most beautiful ones are what we find in the crown jewels. Now, how many of you know Shah Jahan? Of course, you all know he's the one that invented the Taj Mahal. He had the Taj Mahal built, right? So he had sacred texts written in emeralds. These were not small emeralds. Well, they weren't huge emeralds, but they weren't small either. And he used the emeralds as talismans. So he really believed in good luck and the good faith and the good everything that the emeralds would bring. So we still have a lot of mystical, magical powers that people love to believe in with very popular gems. But all of this inscribed in the gems was something that was very typical in the Mughal era and was quite fascinating to see. And then we had, of course, the Russian crown jewels, which have some of the biggest and most beautiful emeralds in them. Those are the Russian crown jewels over there. And of course, the Irani state treasure, which is also Iranian jewels. So we've got a lot of history and a lot of beautiful, large-size emeralds that are in royal collections today. Now, if you go a little further forward, someone who also made emeralds pretty popular was Elizabeth Taylor. And although she's no longer with us, we all remember Liz Taylor, and we all remember her beautiful emeralds, and that she was so lucky to be given some of the most beautiful gems in the world. I mean, she really had some incredible pieces. And when they auctioned, when she passed on, a lot of them were auctioned. And this particular, that particular one, which is a brooch, that went for $6.57 million. We're talking US, yes. And she also had a fantastic necklace, which is coming up. But we had here in Singapore, you may have attended it. It was called the Eternal Jewels Exhibition at Takashimaya. I think it was in 2000 and maybe 11 or 2015, sometime around there. And it was a lovely collection. And Bulgari had made a lot of beautiful jewels for her, not just emerald jewels, rubies and things like that. And she was a patron of Bulgari. And this is the necklace, a beautiful necklace. This one auctioned for 6.13 million. So yes, it's got a lot of emeralds in it. It's an absolute beautiful, divine, and some of these emeralds were quite clean, and of course they were all Colombian emeralds. So what else? When we talk about color, right, we know that color is the most important aspect of a gem. The thing about emeralds is that its color is coming from chromium. And chromium is very rare in the earth. It's one of the reasons why for rubies, rubies are also very expensive, because rubies are colored by chromium. So something that is extremely rare in the earth that's producing that color is also going to make the material more valuable. And when we look at that chemical composition, it's not one that we need to remember for any reason, but it's complicated. For a beautiful emerald to actually form, everything has to be just right. All the right nutrients, and everything has to be in the right condition to be able to produce a nice emerald. So it's one of the most difficult gems to actually produce, which also adds to why it is so rare. And over the ages, it's symbolized a lot of very interesting things because of its color, right? Rebirth, life force, eternal life and love. This is how a lot of people do sell the emeralds, especially linked with life and love, regeneration, and abundance and hope. And it is the birthstone for May. It's been the birthstone for May for a very long time. I don't see that ever changing. So anyone who's born in May, then it is your birthstone, which is very nice. Now, I'm not going to get into mystical, magical properties and birthstones tonight, but let's take a look at clarity. We call the emerald a type 3. And type 3 simply means that you are always going to see something in the emerald, even with your naked eye, right? We have 3 types generally. Type 1, you're not going to see anything in the gem with or without magnification. It looks clean. As an example, I could tell you a topaz, or I could tell you maybe an amethyst, right? Because they're usually very large size and also very clean, looking fantastic. And it would be unusual to find a topaz with lots of inclusions in it. If you did find a topaz with lots of inclusions, then it would be a really low quality topaz, and you wouldn't want to have anything to do with it. A type 2 is going to have inclusions, but you're not going to be able to see those inclusions so easily. You'd have to pick up a loupe, which is a 10 power magnification, and you would see them if you had 10 power, but you wouldn't see them very easily just with your naked eye. And what falls into that category? Well, we've got ruby and sapphire, and it's very typical that a ruby and sapphire are going to have something in them, because if you came to me with a really big ruby, you said, oh, this is my grandmother's ruby, and I look at it with my loupe and I see nothing inside it, my first impression is going to be, go have it checked. It might be a synthetic. That would be my first impression. And I know that people are looking at me going, no, no, it is my grandmother's ruby. Must be real because it's so old, right? But we've been making synthetic rubies since the late 1700s. So I love to say, well, if your grandmother's older than the late 1700s, then fine, but otherwise, probably it could well be a synthetic. Now, did we make synthetic emeralds so quickly? No, we only made synthetic emeralds in around about the 1930s. So it was much later for us to make synthetic emeralds. But all the same, the types are in natural materials, type 1, type 2, and type 3. And type 3 is you will always see inclusions in it. And if you don't have inclusions in it, then really it's spectacular. It's a different quality. So what kind of characteristics are we likely to see? This is interesting. This looks like a gas bubble. Now, for those of you who've been to my programs, you know we always say that if you see a gas bubble in natural material, if you see a gas bubble in a material, the chances of it being natural are very low, because finding a gas bubble that you can see either with your eye or with the loupe, it would probably mean that it's either glass, plastic, possibly an assembled creation where they've stuck parts together, or it could be synthetic, and that would be the likelihood. But this is an inclusion that is inside a natural emerald. Now, how come we have a gas bubble? All right, first of all, I need to tell you this is zoomed up to about 80 to 100 power. So you're not looking at this with a loupe. You're looking at this with a microscope. And this is actually what we call a three-phase inclusion. So there is a liquid, which is here, and this is a gas bubble sitting in the liquid, and this is a solid sitting also in the liquid. So when you have a gas bubble, a solid, and a liquid as an inclusion inside, then that is something you can find in a natural material. And way back when I studied, back in 1980, a long, long time ago, you could say that if you saw this in an emerald, it was proof that you had a natural Colombian emerald. That's what you could say back then. Today, the synthesis of emeralds is getting so good, and they are so clever, and the technology is so far improved that today in a synthetic emerald we can get a three-phase inclusion as well. So no more of the days that you can say, oh, I see this, therefore it is natural. It's not that easy. It's really difficult today to tell the difference and to distinguish between a natural and a synthetic. Anyway, whenever you see stuff in an emerald, we call it the jardin, the garden. And it has all these really interesting natural looking things in it. And the jardin simply is a very good way to describe it in a very poetic fashion. So if we look at emerald mining, about $1 billion mined each year, maybe a little more than that at this point. 50% coming from Colombia. You can see 20% from Zambia, 15% from Brazil. There are other places. The other ones are not really producing a whole lot. So because of the small percentage, we won't really talk about the percentages on those. But nowadays we're finding more and more things from various places, which is very interesting, and from places that we wouldn't be expecting to find them. In fact, we do find 80 new minerals every single year, 80 new mineral species, which is very interesting. We do still consider that the finest are the Colombia, which is interesting, and there's about 150 deposits that are known in Colombia, mostly around Muso and Chivor areas. So Muso is one mine, Chivor is another mine. We've got another mine called Gachala. So there are a few mines there, and it's pretty dangerous stuff. You know, you can see here people working. There's a lot of people working. These are people who are basically hoping to strike it lucky, and they really have nothing to lose. This is it for them. This is what they do. This is, you know, what they do every single day. And there are a lot of dangers. There's a lot of adventure. People say, oh, this is cool, let's go to the diamond mines, well, let's go to the emerald mines and have a look at these things. This is not somewhere you want to go and visit. All right, there's a lot of risk. If you go to the mines, and if you're planning to go and buy some emeralds, well, presumably you're going to take cash with you. Please don't think that in locations like that they're going to have a machine, or that they're going to have any other way. Cash is it. you're going to pay everything in cash. So if you go and you have cash, then you can get ambushed like that, because they know you got cash. They know you're going to buy emeralds. And they could even kill you. Nobody would find out, right? If you do happen to get there, and you do happen to be able to buy some emeralds, then if you do leave, you can get ambushed on the way out because you've got the emeralds. So whether you're going or whether you're coming, it's really dangerous. The majority of people who really work in this kind of an environment, they fly in with a helicopter. They do their deals and they fly out. And it's the fastest thing you've ever seen. And, you know, there are lots of deaths in mining emeralds. And the deaths can come from sometimes just the rocks that fall on people, but they're also from fights that occur at the mines. There's a lot of fights that happen. And we know that there are about 1,200 reported deaths every year at the mines. Those are the reported ones. Can you imagine how many are not reported? Right? So it's not a great thing to do. Oh, let's go emerald mine. Let's go and check out the emerald mines. No, I think we would rather, there's a lot of other ones we can go to that are much safer than these kinds of places. So let's have a look at some of the emeralds from the other sources and do a quick comparison, because we got the Colombian, which we know is very expensive, versus the Zambian. Now what I tried to do is I tried to find two stones that are on internet that are the same in as many ways as possible. You'll notice that I tried to kind of match the carat weight, and I tried to kind of match the color, and I tried to kind of match the clarity as well. It's not easy to do, and especially when you're not actually physically looking at the stone. The best thing is to physically look at the stone, otherwise it doesn't help. But you can see as a general, this one here for 3.84 carats, which comes from Colombia, 32,736, whereas this one from Zambia, only 25,000. All right, so I did a quick per carat there. That's 8,500 per carat. This one is 6,400. $2,000 difference per carat. Wow. Now, can you see the difference? That one's Colombian, this one's no. Actually, on this particular picture, the Zambian one looks even nicer, right? It looks like the other one has a window in it. But you're not going to be able to see the difference between these types of materials. So it isn't helpful. So whenever you're buying, just make sure that you ask, where is it from? And that you also ask, that you also really look at the color, right? Physically look at the color. Don't look at it on, you know, people love to send these WhatsApp messages showing you on their hands, showing you the beautiful gem. There's so many ways that they can alter the color of the thing. I've had hundreds of students that have come and said, look at this beautiful thing, I bought this. And then they pull it out of their pocket and they show me, and the color of the actual thing and the color on the, very different. Very different, not really worth it. So Zambia is one of the places that we can get emeralds. Now, one of the things about the Zambian emeralds, interesting, is that they tend to be a lot cleaner than Colombian emeralds. And they tend to be very bright. So they're a lovely option. And they're especially a lovely option if you want to have something a little bit cheaper. I mean, you could have a Colombian, why not? But if you're going to get something that is $2,000 a carat cheaper and it's cleaner and looking very, very nice, then I would say it's not a bad choice. Others, Brazil does have some very nice ones with some rare cat's eyes, which we will look at in a minute. And we said with others from Zimbabwe and Ethiopia, Russia, Australia, and even USA and North Carolina, they have some emeralds. Can I say that these are really nice quality? They have found some there. I can't say they're the highest quality. So if we look at the Brazilian one versus the Colombian one here, so I kept the first one the same, $8,000 a carat, $8,500. Look at this one. Okay, it's a little bit smaller, and it's an oval cut, but only $3,000 per carat. So again, Brazilian one is also an alternative if you can find a really nice colored one. So ultimately, are you going to be able to tell where it comes? You can't look at it and tell where it comes from. There's going to be no distinguishable features. And if you can get one that's a really good color and a good clarity, then you might be paying a fraction of the price for it. So it's well worth knowing and looking for some of these other ones. And there is the very nice cat's eye emerald. These are quite rare. This is an 18 carat. You can imagine how rare an 18 carat one is going to be. And this one was only 280,000 US dollars, which comes out to about 15,000 per carat. So you can see how expensive something like that is going to be. So remember that we're not likely to get too many phenomenal emeralds. They're all, the phenomena is something that is really separate and really special. So a little bit of pricing here. I thought that I would take one of the pricing guides that I usually go and look at and give you some idea for Colombian top color. And you can see here how prices really change. You've got really high clarity, kind of in middle of the road clarity, and here you've got a low clarity. All right, so these you would find really quite a lot. These would be the next possible ones to find, and these would be much more difficult to find. And if you look at price-wise, well, these are not, they're not insignificant prices. For something as small as a little bit less than a 1 carat, you're already paying 4,000 to 13,000. Wow, that's a lot of money to pay for one gem. So it just gives you a little idea. If you come over here, when you look at 8 carats plus, 24 to 50,000 for really nice ones. So they can be super costly. And then if we look at other sources, you can see how prices are definitely better. And, well, it's a good option. It's a very good option to choose if you are looking for the beauty of the stone and if you're looking for something that is a bit more affordable. But prices are still very high regardless, even for the ones from other locations. All right, some of the largest emeralds ever found. This one's incredible. You can see I put the hands there with it so you can see how big it is. This is the largest cut emerald, 11 kg. It's Brazilian. Now, color-wise, not so great. It's a little bit almost more translucent to opaque. It's not transparent, and I would say very highly included. But it's a very interesting price. Look at that, $1,120,000. Now this is uncut, and one of the biggest uncut one, which was found in Cruces mine in Gachala. And so this one here is very, very beautiful, found in 1969. And the most expensive one ever sold, and I'm sorry that doesn't look very clear, but this is a 19 carat, and it was sold for $2.1 million. So this is an absolutely amazing stone with its size and the color of it. It was a piece made by Cartier, and it was sold in Geneva in about 1987. And that holds the record for the most expensive emerald. And then we've had a recent find, which is really nice, Gemfields, which is getting very well known now for many auctions in rubies and in emeralds as well. They found this one in Zambia in October 2018. So as I said, we find new things all the time, which is really exciting. It's 1.1 kg, and this one is estimated, not sold yet, but is estimated to be about $2 million for this rough piece of emerald. Does look good, color is really good, so really exciting that we're finding these new things. Great. Then we have durability. Now, when it comes to hardness, I do want you to know hardness and toughness are different. The hardness scale, most people know diamonds are a 10, right? So where is emerald there? We don't have beryl on that list. Why don't we have beryl on that list? Is it because beryl wasn't in existence when we made the list? No, beryl was in existence, but beryl is a 7.5. So here they were looking for the actual numbers, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And because beryl is 7.5, it didn't make it onto this list. But that's what it is somewhere between quartz and topaz. And the hardness is not bad. I mean, if you can wear a piece of quartz and enjoy a piece of quartz for many, many years, which you can, then you can certainly wear an emerald without it scratching too readily. What we have to be careful is we have to be careful not to throw our jewelry into the jewelry box and have one gem hitting another. Diamonds, corundum, they can practically scratch everything that goes, that if they hit something in the box, it can really scratch them very easily. So you need to just make sure that you have a place to put your beautiful pieces, not to throw one on top of the other so that they scratch each other. So, but hardness is not everything. Toughness is more important, and toughness is resistance to cracking and chipping and breaking. And the problem with emeralds is that they can chip and crack and break fairly readily if they have a lot of fractures in them. And they do tend to have a lot of fractures. So we have to be very careful. We need to be careful not to knock them around. We need to be careful when we set them. We need to have somebody professional to set them in a way that will protect the stone. A good bezel setting is a really good one because it runs all the way around the stone, protecting the stone. Or at least if you have corners, and one of the reasons why a lot of emeralds are cut in emerald cut with the corners cut off is that any points are really susceptible to breakage. So that's why they tend to cut the corners off, and then they put a nice thick bar of metal to protect the stone, to hold it so that we don't get further damage done. Okay, then treatments. Pretty much all oils, all emeralds today are oiled. And the oiling is not something that you do, that you just rub it in oil. I really have to have a little chuckle when I hear people saying, oh yes, I oiled my emerald. Something that's done where they do the mining, when they pull it out of the earth, they're going to look at the rough material. And generally speaking, it's done with proper machinery, it's done under vacuum, and the oil is sucked in, and it's a very particular type of oil. It's not just any oil, it's not baby oil or just any kind of oil. So this is not something we can do. This is something that is professionally done. So this is a before and this is an after. And in general, the oiling makes your stone appear as if it has less fractures. Now those fractures are all still there. It's just that when they're filled with the oil, that they've been sucked into the oil, it makes that fracture, instead of full of air, the oil is more similar to the refractive index of the material. And therefore it makes those fractures less visible. That's all it is. Now if we pick up a loupe and we look with the loupe, we can see them all. They're all still there. But to the naked eye, it just makes it look better. And this has been done for centuries. The oiling of emeralds. It's something that has been done for a very long time. So it is a standard practice. If you're going to buy a really high quality emerald and they say there's no oil, then make sure it has a certificate that goes with it that has proof that says there's no oil in that emerald. Because most of them out there are going to be oiled. Other than that, there's not a whole lot of other treatments. What we do want to be careful is that if it does have an oil, that the oil is not a colored oil. Because sometimes they color the oil to a blue-green color, and when they do that, then what happens is that it makes the emerald look more green. It makes the emerald look much more green. Now that's a problem, right? Bye-bye, Kevin. So when we check, always ask, has it been oiled, and is it a natural oil or colored oil? All right, so let's take a quick look at the beryl now, the species, the whole family, because this is a whole family. And these are all the varieties within the family, and these are the ones that are pretty common, they're well known. So aquamarine, heliodor, goshenite, morganite, red beryl. So we're going to have a quick look at what they look like and talk about them for a second. Aquamarine is very much loved, another gem that's been around for the longest time, also long enough to be a birthstone. What does that mean? That means centuries. It was on the breastplate of Aaron. And so it is the birthstone for March. So anyone born in March usually loves aquamarine. The name is derived from seawater because of this lovely light blue color. And typically it is a type 1. So how interesting to have a family member that's a type 1 when emerald, we said, was a type 3, right? So it's quite possible that we can get type 1 or type 2 or even type 3 within a family. So generally they're very clean and they are found in large size and they are very affordable. Now when I say very affordable, again, if you get really big ones, the big ones are not on here. And that's because the larger they become, then the more rare they are, and of course the more expensive they're going to be. The more unique, the price really goes up extensively, and we need to look at the color, because the color is going to really, you have a really strong, intense blue. That is the best you can get. It can still be a light, but it can be intense. And that intensity of color is what drives the price up. So some of them have just a light blue and the intensity of the color isn't that great. So again, then they're going to be in the affordable ranges here. And you can see how the prices are much, much lower than emerald.
Well, from
Yes.
$20
Yeah.
it's light for 1.5 to 3 carats.
Yeah.
To $350 to $1,000 if it's.
Yeah. Or little tiny ones, even $8. I mean, it's a big difference. Yeah. Okay. Then we have Heliodor. Now, Heliodor is yellow, beautiful golden kind of color, and basically named from the word Helios and Doron, meaning gift from the sun. And sometimes it can come a little bit on the greenish side. It's quite possible. But yellow, sometimes a more orangey yellow, it's quite possible. Again, a type 1, very clean. And these are often treated to intensify their color. They can be irradiated. Irradiation is something that we do today very often. And we do that also on corundum. Most yellow corundum, which is yellow sapphires, most of them are irradiated as well today. So it works well. And if you do get some fine ones, you can see from anywhere from $13 for smaller, but this isn't very small. 10 carats isn't very small. So because this material is not so well known, because not a lot of people are rushing out looking for Heliodor, then prices are very affordable. I guess the only problem with it is that it looks like a citrine. And if you were buying a citrine, then citrine would be even cheaper, right? Why would that be even cheaper? Because citrine is quartz, and quartz is the dust of the earth. So being that common, there's a lot more citrine out there than there is beryl. And so therefore, citrine would be much, much less valuable than the Heliodor. So again, we have choices. I mean, that's the nice thing. You want something a little bit more affordable, then go with quartz. If you want something a little bit more unusual, then for the same color, you can get a beryl as well. Then we have goshenite. Now, goshenite is colorless. And it looks like diamond. And if we cut it really nicely, it can even sparkle like diamond. So this is what we could call a very good diamond simulant. A simulant is something that simply looks like a diamond. And it really can be quite impressive, found in Massachusetts. And then the type 1, which is also quite good. So it doesn't have a lot in it usually. And all sizes, $6 to $30. Why? Because nobody's really going out there looking for this stuff, right? It's there, it's around, but nobody's really interested. So we can buy it at a very good price. Now, this one can be a little bit more expensive. And this one is the pink variety of beryl. And until J.P. Morgan came along, this was called pink beryl. And you all know the story behind this, right? You know J.P. Morgan is a very famous banker. And basically he was also an avid gem collector. He loved gems. He would go every weekend to Tiffany & Company, and he would sit in Tiffany & Company, and he would go into the special room. He would go into the room where the safe was, and he would get shown the beautiful collections, and he would bring some of his pieces and show them as well. And they had a very good relationship. And he actually had an excellent relationship with the chief gemologist of Tiffany & Company, whose name was Dr. Kuntz. And at some point, they decided they were going to go around the world looking for minerals, exciting minerals. So they did. They traveled, and JP Morgan bought the minerals, and Dr. Kuntz was the one who did the testing and checked and made sure it was what they said it was and stuff like that. And when they got back to New York, JP Morgan donated the whole collection to the museum in New York, the National Museum. And it's there today, so if anyone goes over to New York, you can go and visit that beautiful collection. And it was an extraordinary collection. He spent lots of money on that collection. And so Dr. Kuntz said, look, he's donated this wonderful gift. Why don't we name a gemstone after him? And so they said, okay, what have we got? We've got pink beryl. Would he like to have pink beryl? That one's available. And they said, sure, why not? And so it was named morganite after J.P. Morgan. So the funny thing about naming gems, it could be that gems are named after famous people, important people, people that find the gem. These are all possibilities. Or it could be named sometimes after the location it was from, like Tanzanite coming from Tanzania, Savarite coming from the Tsavo National Park in Africa. I mean, just it's interesting how these gems do get named, but this one used to just be called pink beryl. So price-wise, actually this looks pretty cheap, 10 carats and above, 300 per carat. It depends. If you have a really good color, and again, pink is a very light red, right? White and red make pink. So what happens is that you don't always get a strong saturation. If you get a morganite with very strong saturation, wow, the price can go up very, very high. And then we got bixbyite. Now bixbyite is the red beryl, and it's named after this gentleman, Maynard Bixby, and it was found in the US, and it only comes from the USA, this particular one. It comes in a red color. It really looks like ruby. Can you see that it has the violetish tones in it? It's violetish red, just like a ruby should be, violetish red. And it is also a type 3, so it's like an emerald in that regard. So we expect to see inclusions in it. And if we get one with no inclusions, then of course it's going to be expensive. But the thing about bixbyite is it's extremely rare. It's one of the most rare. It's very difficult to find. If you can find it, great. And to find it in good size, that's difficult. And to find it in good size and good color, that's even more. And to find it in good size and good color and good clarity, wow. I mean, exponentially the price goes up. So here you see $50,000 for a 1 carat and above. Again, due to its rarity, they can't put much more there. Yeah. All right. So in conclusion, if we look at emeralds and all of the beryl family, right, we're looking at mostly rarity and value. You know, the emerald, the bixbyite, even the morganite is to some extent rare. And a lot of historical significance because they do go back a very, very long way, even though maybe the others are less known. They might have been mistaken for ruby even earlier on, but there's a lot of historical significance that goes back with these stones. They're definitely a symbol of elegance for those people who like them, like Liz Taylor, for example. And you've got variety and versatility in that you can have something very expensive, or you can have something very inexpensive depending on what you're looking for. So it's all available, which is a really nice thing. Great. So,
we had an interesting comment.
Do we have any questions? Yes.
Yeah, we had an interesting comment from one of our YouTube viewers called Claire.
Yes.
Who said that apparently Elon Musk's father
Yes.
used to own an emerald mine.
Oh, wow.
And there's some controversy over whether or not Elon Musk got any money from the father's emerald mine and whether he was a self-made billionaire or not. But what's really interesting
That's
is
random.
I know it's
Claire,
random,
that's very
yeah,
nice.
but
Wow.
apparently he made a comment
Yes.
to say that it's more dangerous to go mining for emeralds than it is to go to Mars. So
Oh,
that's kind of an interesting comment.
But he made that comment?
Yeah, apparently so. I haven't
Oh.
looked it up, but
That's very interesting.
interesting
Thank
story.
you, Claire. I love that. That's really great. Fantastic. Wonderful. Any other questions? Yes. Which one? Dambarite. I'll have to check. I do have some dambarite, interestingly, but I don't think it's within the same family. I don't think it's a beryl. So it's just another mineral that comes in a very, sometimes clear to look like diamond. The ones I have are completely colorless. They can come with a bit of a yellowish tinge sometimes, so they really do look like diamonds. And they're very inexpensive. I've had people show me dambarites from Burma. I think some of them are coming from Burma, and I think they come from other places. But I'd have to kind of look up and tell you a bit more, do a bit more research to tell you more about dambarites. But certainly they are up and coming. There are people selling them now on the market. I've seen quite a few people selling them. Yes. So is it good? Is it bad? I don't know. If you look at it, you like the price, then it's definitely not a bad thing. Yeah, but it's a bit unusual. Yes. Thank you. Yes?
Between the treated emerald and the non-treated emerald, what is the price difference in general?
There is quite a price difference. Again, I don't have the prices in my head, and I'm not buying and selling emeralds every day. So I could shoot out a price, but it wouldn't be necessarily the right one. So I'd rather look into it first and then give you that answer, rather than just shoot something out now, because it probably wouldn't be very close. But certainly a non-treated emerald, the price is going to be greatly higher than the treated one. The treated one is normal. The non-treated one is not normal. Yes.
So we had a question about the certificates for the gemstones. You gave us some examples that the Colombian emerald was a lot more valuable, the Zambian emerald maybe less so,
Yep.
and the Brazilian less so.
Okay, mainly because of provenance and because of the history behind the.
Is it common
Colombia.
for the certificate to always state where it's coming from, or is that something that you need to be extra careful about?
Okay, so it wasn't, let's say 10 years ago, but now provenance is becoming a lot more important. Where it's coming from, where the gem is from is definitely highlighted today. So if you're having gems assessed today, then it's much more likely that they're going to tell you where it's from. And why? Because today more labs have the equipment that they can tell where it's from. And how can they tell where it's from? Traces, little tiny traces of elements that are found in certain places that are not found in other places. So they know what trace elements are found in Zambia, they know which trace elements are found in Colombia, and they're able to distinguish it that way. But 10, 20 years ago, we didn't have the technology. Now we do. So I think that a lot of the good labs, the well-established labs, are definitely looking at that and definitely putting that onto the certificates. Yeah.
One more question from David. You mentioned irradiated gemstones.
Yes.
Is it true that the color for irradiated gemstones will fade over time?
We have heard sometimes that is going to happen. But is it true that it's going to happen on all of them? No, I think that, every gemstone is individual, and some will happen faster than others, but it's not you can't say it's going to happen on all of them and it's going to happen at the same speed. It doesn't work that way. So there's a lot of irradiated gems that we've never had any problem with. So we can't really say that all irradiated gems, the color's going to fade. We can't say that.
And generally those
but
treatments...
But it can happen. We've seen it happen.
Those treatments are considered to be permanent.
Most of them are pretty
cases.
permanent, yeah. I mean, it also sometimes depends on the color. I find that yellows tend to have the most problem, more so than others that I've heard of. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Okay, guys, thank you so much for coming tonight. It was lovely to see you all. And thank you for joining us on YouTube, everybody, and Claire as well for that lovely information on Elon Musk, which is good, interesting. And so we look forward to see you for maybe the next one. When is the next one, Alan?
So we have lots of other sessions. Our next one is coming up, I think, on either Monday or Wednesday. But those of you that joined us by signing up online, please go have a look and see what the next ones are that we have coming up. Satish, do you happen to remember what the next one is? No, I'd have to go and look it up. We do them so frequently that I've got them all jumbled in my mind. But we have a variety of them. Remember, we have things on jewelry making, things like how jewelry is designed using computers or using traditional techniques, how we manufacture jewelry using traditional techniques, using casting, using modern techniques, etc. And then we also have all of the gemstone spotlights, which are all really, really interesting. So you're welcome to join us again for some of those sessions. And if you're interested to get to know more about the gemstones and would like more of a structured program to find out more, I have a little bit more information about the Gem and Jewelry Trade Secrets course, which is a complete 30-hour program that covers all of the different gemstones. And we have a short video to explain more about that particular program.
You love gemstones and jewelry. But how much do you really know about the rare and beautiful materials that are in your jewelry box? Join me, Tanja Sadow, for a complete hands-on certification that is guaranteed to change the way you appreciate and buy jewelry. Start your journey by traveling to the source. Learn about gemstone origins, see how gems are mined, and how these extraordinarily valuable materials get to the market. You'll learn how to spot good quality gemstones and how to assess value factors for diamonds, colored stones, phenomenal gems, pearls, organic gemstones, and even jade. This comprehensive course gives you the knowledge and power to take control of your gem purchases if you're a collector or an enthusiast, or your sales process if you're a designer or a jewelry professional. Beyond understanding about the gemstones and common trade practices in the jewelry industry, you will also see and learn about imitations, synthetics, and treatments that are sometimes used to enhance or even to deceive. This popular course takes place in our Gem Vault, where participants are able to see and examine my collection of over 1,800 gems and jewelry pieces, which include rare and valuable specimens as well as common imitations found in the jewelry markets in the region. You will complete this course with a clear understanding of gem facts and will be able to avoid misconceptions that can lead to expensive mistakes when buying jewelry and gems. Here are some of the topics that we will cover in this exciting program. First, we'll learn about the wide variety of beautiful natural minerals and the many misconceptions which abound in this field, as well as how to classify and compare gemstones. Knowing more about these gems, we then learn to evaluate color, discover how clarity types are assessed, and see a wide range of cutting styles available in today's market. Diamonds are the next on our agenda. First, we'll understand the modern diamond trade and then gain in-depth knowledge about the 4 C's, which consists of color, clarity, cut, and carat weight, and which will be the most helpful during your next diamond purchase. Next, we'll explore important differences between natural diamonds, synthetic diamonds, and diamond simulants, as well as some tips that will help you in the identification of these gem materials. Pearls are seeing a resurgence in popularity. Our next stop is to discover the varieties of pearls available and their origins, as well as common imitations in the market and ways to identify them. Pearls also have some unique value factors that you need to know about, such as color, luster, shape, make, nacre thickness, and spotting. All of these significantly affect the price of pearls, and knowing them can help you make better buying decisions. Have you heard of asterism, chatoyancy, play of color, aventurescence, adulorescence, iridescence, or even labradorescence? These gemstone phenomena make certain gem materials really stand out from other gems, and knowing how to observe and evaluate these phenomena can help you to select the very best gemstone. Today, in Asia, no gemstone course would be complete without an understanding of jade. This popular material has tremendous cultural significance, but it has also been misunderstood for millennia. Learn about jadeite, or feitui, and nephrite, the two genuine forms of jade, and discover the many imitations available on the market today. Not all gemstones are minerals. Some gems are produced by living organisms. These are known as organic gems and have been appreciated by all cultures throughout time. Discover how gems like amber, jet, bone, ivory, shell, and even coral are used in jewelry today, and what to look out for when buying to ensure your purchases are responsible and sustainable. Our last stop is to understand the difference between imitations, synthetics, and assembled gemstones. Here you'll learn the importance of using the right equipment and techniques to test gems, and will appreciate the complexity of the expert field of gemology. Like all JDMIS courses, participants in the Gem and Jewellery Trade Secrets class receive everything they need to fully appreciate the gems, exhibits, and jewellery samples. This includes tools like the jeweler's loop and specialized pen lights and tweezers and gem cloths, as well as reference materials for all of the topics covered. Discover the sparkling world of gemstones and jewelry at JDMIS and see the gemstones in your own collection with a new appreciation. Find out more about our most popular course, Gem and Jewellery Trade Secrets, at jdmis.edu.sg.
Brilliant. So if you are a Singaporean and or a permanent resident, you can get 50 to 70% government training grants for your courses. And if you're a Singaporean and you have Skills Future credits, you can also use those Skills Future credits to offset the remaining balance of the tuition fees for this course, which is really interesting. It makes the course very manageable in terms of cost.
Great. All right. So thank you very much, everybody, for joining us, and hope we see you again. And have a wonderful Sunday, because tomorrow is, today's Sunday, right?
Saturday.
Oh, today's Saturday. Have a wonderful Sunday tomorrow. That's right. Good. Thank you.
Great. Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.